Welcome to Produce Talks.
This whole business is based on relationship and friendships.
Food is darn simple.
What can we do? What are other countries doing?
How important it is for industry to be talking about this.
We're going back to the farm. We're going back to the whole food.
Hello and welcome to Produce Talks, the CPMA podcast. This episode, we feature a panel of women in produce and recognize the achievements of women leading the promotion of produce in Canada. Earlier this year, CPMA partnered with Grocery Business Magazine to recognize some of the exceptional women in the industry. The Grocery Business article was released in the March-April edition, and the 10 outstanding women recognized in the article included Angela Santiago with the Little Potato Company, Ashley Pinto with Loblaws, Muriel Thibodeau with Sobeys, Jane Rhino at Highline Produce, Luci Faas at Nature Fresh Farms, Trudy Oberfield with Nature Source, Michèle McMillan at Thomas Fresh, Lindsay Young with Federated Cooperatives, Carly White at Walmart Canada, and Tammy Vautour with Metro. And joining on this episode will be three of those women, Michèle, Lucy, and Ashley, after a quick word from our sponsor, Nature Fresh Farms.
Hey everyone, it's Sarah from Nature Fresh Farms. We'd like to congratulate all the women in produce nominees for their achievements in the produce industry. As women's engagement in agriculture grows, we continue to encourage diversity and inclusivity, supporting all women who strengthen the industry. To learn more about the amazing women at Nature Fresh Farms, visit our Grow to People page at www.naturefresh.ca.
So joining me now on the podcast are three of those women, Michèle McMillan, Ashley Pinto, and Luci Faas. And I'm going to ask that each of you start off by introducing yourselves to our audience, talking about your roles and background in produce. But first, I also want to say congratulations to all three of you for being recognized. So Michèle, why don't you get us started with the introductions?
My name is Michèle McMillan. I am the Director of National Accounts for Thomas Fresh, Inc. We are a produce grower, packer, shipper that is situated mainly in Western Canada. I was brought on as the Director of National Accounts to service the larger chains who all have their head offices here in Ontario. So 3 years ago, they decided to put feet on the ground here in Ontario, and that is my role. I spent about 37 years in retail between two major retailers, A&P, which for those who aren't aware is now Metro, and Sobeys. I came to be involved in produce during my tenure at Sobeys when I looked after the private label portfolio of produce and some of the larger deals, such as the bananas, pineapples, and clementine deals, which are not private label branded, but they were part of the portfolio as well. And 3 years ago, I opted to leave the retail side after 37 years and jump onto the selling side, which is where I landed at Thomas Fresh.
That's great. How about Ashley?
I'm Ashley Pinto, and I actually wear three different hats. So my full-time job being a produce procurement category director, sourcing and procuring root, veg, pumpkins, and salad bar globally for all stores coast to coast, building on vendor partnerships and growing programs to support sustainability. The second hat that I wear is I'm a co-chair for the Learning and Development Subcommittee for Go Further Women at Loblaw, which is a pillar that supports and elevates women. And then lastly, I'm a board of directors for the Quebec Produce Marketing Association representing Loblaw, where we focus on industry issues and bring awareness to the consumption of fruits and vegetables. So over the 20 years of my retail produce experience, I started off at store level. And then while attending post-secondary education, I was offered a part-time job at Loblaw. And 16 years later, I'm still here. So through brand recognition and advice from my peers, I'm glad that I chose that temp position to work through Loblaw, and it's gained me immense exposure to this industry.
That's great. We'll certainly talk more about the Go Further Women at Loblaw program later on in this episode. Lucy.
Okay, hello, I'm Luci Faas. I'm a product development specialist at the Nature Fresh Farm. I joined Nature Fresh Farm 3 years ago as a purchasing and product development. And about 1.5 years ago, I transitioned to my current position as product development specialist. With my current role, I'm responsible for sourcing innovative packaging with a special focus on sustainable packaging. I started working in produce industry about 8 years ago as a packaging coordinator at the greenhouse. My original passion was environmental education, and that's what I studied in the school. So I stayed in the area for 4 years. Then I worked in manufacturing industry as a purchasing agent. This is where I learned about purchasing. Then I moved to Canada, and my very first job I had in Canada was a packaging coordinator at the greenhouse. And I purchased dry goods and managed the inventory. So this is where I learned all about produce packaging. And this is how I started working in the industry, produce industry.
That's great. No, I think it's a great panel that we have across the sector, across Canada, and covering all sorts of areas from procurement, sales, packaging, sustainability. So I'm really looking forward to this panel and this episode where we're recognizing the leadership and the achievements of women in our industry, such as yourselves, and talking about women in produce as a topic. And I'm going to start with a great quote from the Grocery Business article from Oline Smethurst. She says, "Our industry recognizes and appreciates people who are authentic, passionate, and driven, while success within it comes from having expertise, creativity, and confidence. I've personally found that being a woman in a male-dominated industry is an advantage, not a challenge. Women in produce have multiple opportunities to shine, as have the honorees, many of whom I know." So it's a great quote, and I think there's an important question there that is important to unpack, which is, do you see the produce industry as being male dominated? And what does that mean for women in produce and women in the produce business?
And it's Ashley. So sharing from a place of honesty, yes, it still is a very dominated industry. Although we've made great strides through, some amazing initiatives and programs through CPMA and internal programs within Loblaw, we are moving the dial to ensure that we are driving female representation. But what it means for us as women is that we need to elevate one another, and we really need to encourage our male counterparts to make room for us at the table. And in that same breath, it just means that it's exciting for women and that there's untapped opportunities. It's also equally important that we're focusing on education of women in this industry as well, beyond those customer service roles. So showing them that when they focus on their personal growth, they can succeed in executive roles. When I started out in this industry, a lot of leaders that I looked up to didn't look like me. I didn't see very many females in this role, so I didn't think that it was possible. What became pivotal for me in my career was seeing Sarah Davis become appointed president at Loblaw. That was definitely a huge inspiration for me and for so many people that, whether they were internal or external, it was a great accomplishment to see within this industry. So, it's encouraging women to want to make those sacrifices and focus on becoming what they want to be.
Michèle, Luci?
Yeah, I agree with Ashley that it is still to a degree a male-dominated industry, but it is evolving. And I think it's something I am a member of the education committee at CPMA. And some of the activities that we talk about is, the ideas are to get into the universities, maybe the high schools, to talk about careers in the produce industry, simply because a lot of people don't think of us. We're not necessarily top of mind for job opportunities post their education, even though all of our companies need the same type of marketing and finance and everything else that every other company needs. So we talk about trying to do better with that. And the Passion for Produce program, having been on the board since 2010 and very recently reelected, I've watched the Passion for Produce program with CPMA grow over the years, and the demographic become much more balanced as the years go on. And it's very interesting because the nomination process and the selection process for that program is completely blind. So the fact that the demographic is getting more balanced speaks to the fact that more women are applying for this program, and that their skill set is being recognized and being awarded in being selected to be part of the program. And over the years, through my retail career, when I first decided that I wanted to be in the management program at the retailers, female store managers didn't exist. And I set my sights on being one of the first ones, and I ended up being that in our organization. And to see that change over the years as well. I walk into so many different retail operations these days, and there are as many, if not more, female managers than male managers, which for me is very exciting. It's quite an accomplishment for all women that these changes are taking place. And it also exemplifies the fact that there are opportunities for females in all industries. As long as they set their sights on something, there's an opportunity for them to be considered for those roles. And it's not as much of a fight as it may have been at one time.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. No, it's all good points. And I mean, there's a lot of themes there that I think we'll continue to unpack over the next little bit here around, empowerment, community, mentorship, leadership, all driving change. Lucy, do you have anything to add?
Yes, I agree with Ashley and Michelle. This industry is still male dominated, but I definitely see a shift to being more balanced with men and women. I used to see more males in like sales office and on the production floor, but now I see more equal gender ratios throughout the company. And I also agree with Olean's quote. That's a great quote. Being a woman in a male-dominated industry could be an advantage. I don't see it as a challenge because this is a great opportunity for us women to bring our unique, diverse perspective to the company and the industry.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And it's reminds me of a picture. So there's a couple pictures in the CPMA offices from like back in the 40s and 50s. And I think that this goes for a lot of industries. But this was back when CPMA was then the Eastern Canada Fruit and Vegetable Jobbers Association. And there's a crowd of maybe 50, 60 people. And it's all white men, of course. But I think that goes to the history and I think the change that many industries, have been seeing over the years and continue to see. And I think it's conversations like this that are important. So
Ian, if I may, you talk about the pictures for a lot of the memorial type articles and whatnot that were done when Frida Kaplan passed away. There were so many pictures of her with nothing but men in the picture. Yeah. She was, she really was the pioneer for women in the industry, and she set the tone for the stage for women behind her to follow in her footsteps and, not worry about the fact that you might be the only woman in the room, but, embrace that fact and embrace the fact, to Lucy's point, that you can bring a different perspective to it. And I mean, she did it with poise and grace and, didn't have to necessarily be one of the boys per se. Mm-hmm. And I think, she is one that we should all aspire to the successes that she had, because she really led it for all of us, if you will.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So Michelle and for Ashley and Lucy too, are there any other pioneers? I mean, Ashley, you mentioned Sarah Davis, of course. I mean, one of the most powerful and influential women in Canada. Are there any other women that come to mind that you would consider as pioneers?
I would say Angela Santiago. She has taken over the business that she and her father started and is running it now. And I very much consider her a pioneer as far as women leading produce companies in the industry.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. So another great quote from the article: "The future offers great opportunity for women to consider a career in produce, with doors opening like never before. When more women ascend to leadership roles, they become role models for the next generation. Every one of these nominated women fit that description and deserve the ultimate credit and thanks." And that one came from Michelle Broom from the OPMA. And this was alluded on a little bit earlier, but how has the industry evolved for women over the years that you've been in produce? And do you see those opportunities for leadership and for women to thrive continuing to grow?
So I've absolutely seen the industry evolve. And again, it's through women elevating other women and understanding that we don't need to fight for just one spot. So even just through the ability of being featured as a top woman in produce or an outstanding woman in produce, we're bringing education and spotlighting these outstanding women that have paved the way or that have, thrived to expand in this industry. So, this also builds on our platform. It allows us to expand our network and connect with new diverse individuals to then continue our learning journey. So it just continues to evolve as we bring the education forward. So and opportunities through the top women in produce.
Absolutely. Yeah. Luci or Michèle?
Sure. Yeah, I absolutely see this change, even within 3 years. Comparing today and 3 years ago, which when I started working at the Nature Fresh Farm, we have more women in leadership position, even in non-traditional position like director of logistics, ERP manager, and operations manager. And it is very inspiring to see these women are being successful in a company. And this motivates other female employees to follow their path.
So do you see leadership and women in leadership roles, do you see that as a catalyst for change?
I would say, absolutely, it's a catalyst for change. And it's something that, Luci talked about the last 3 years, but even if I look back 11 years from my time that I've been involved with the industry, the evolution of the industry embracing female leaders has been astounding. And even if you look at right at farm level where, family farms are there, they may not have a son or they have sons and daughters, and often they go off to university and get their university education in turn to come back and run the farm. So they're, the girls in the family often are the ones coming back to take over the farm, which is not something that you heard of, 30, 40 years ago. It's more of a new phenomenon, but they've gone off to get their education prior to that so that they can take that farm to the next generation of farming. And it's keeping up with all of the changes in the industry in order to make that farm sustainable. So I think that's an important element of it as well. And we're seeing leaders, Luci touched on it as well, in non-traditional roles, like I said, running farms, but in research, sales, marketing, being leaders of associations, QA product development. We see women leaders all across the full gamut of areas in the businesses, which is great, as opposed to what we may have seen 10, 20 years ago, which there may have been much fewer leadership roles in these areas.
Mm-hmm. And I'll jump on that and I'll mention Luci in your role as a product development specialist leading the project for the compostable cucumber wrapper. Congratulations on that project. And I mean, that's a great example, right?
It took us several years to finally be able to introduce that first generation 100% home compostable film to North American market. So we are very excited about that. And now we are working on that second generation film that will have a better compatibility with cucumber wrap machine. So going back to your question about catalyst, I learned that for women to continue to advance in agriculture industry, it is important that they receive visibility, representation, and decision-making power. These all act as a catalyst for change and helping women to reach those leadership roles.
So I'm just going to go back to the article, and there's another great quote from Angela Santiago about company values. And it's translating our company values into real behaviors in the workplace may not be easy, but it is really the only way to go if those values have any worth at all. This requires a kind of vigilance and attention that keeps us on our toes. So looking internally at your companies, past and present, how can company values, company initiatives have an impact in driving change in the workplace and in the industry?
Yeah, company values play a large role in driving change. Our company values the diversity, equity, and inclusion, and it's invested in pillars to drive change within Loblaw and really make that call to action. So Loblaw has 4 main pillars when it comes to our D&I space. One being Go Further Women, which, elevates the woman's profile. We have Embrace Your Roots, which focuses on, culture and ethnicity. We have a Proud to Be Me pillar, which focuses on the LGBTQ community. And then we also have the Able pillar, which supports those who require accessibility. So I think it's important that we're focusing on all of these pillars and these values to ensure that not only just women, but people as a whole are feeling as though they have a space and that we're driving change. We should also focus on various stages that women go through during their career as well. So, we need to be looking to eradicate systemic barriers for all stages of women, whether it be, encouraging them at entry level with mentorship programs, supporting them when they're growing their families, planning for their retirements. There are so many milestones that women will go through that require different levels of support that are equally important to their values. So I think it's important that our values play into driving that support.
That's great. Yeah, no, and I mean, looking at DEI across the board like that, I think it's incredible.
Yeah, and I know I've said before, there's still a lot of work to be done, but removing those systemic barriers and, affirmative action programs and working with our HR counterparts to ensure that we're well represented, and then ensuring that we're investing in these types of programs to remove those barriers. So it's one thing to understand what the barriers are, but actually putting in the action and investing time into these programs is what's really going to drive change.
Yeah. Michèle, Luci, how do you think company values have an impact in driving change?
Luci, do you want to go first?
Sure. I feel diversity and inclusion is always core part of Nature Fresh Farms culture. And they are very successful creating this culture throughout the company. And with this company, we feel it does not matter where you came from, what kind of background you have. You will be successful if you are committed and a hard worker and love what you do. So this kind of culture leaves the door wide open for all kind of people looking to join the company. And I see each employee share the same value and respect and accept each other. And this makes us feel safe to speak up our opinion. I'm going to just say this is my personal experience, but I'm a shy person and English is not my first language. So I used to afraid to speak up in a meeting or ask questions. But I realized that my coworkers and my management, they listen and value my opinion. Mm-hmm. So now I'm not afraid to ask questions and I feel encouraged to bring new ideas to the table. And I believe that this is the power of a diverse and inclusive culture. So we make a better decision and we come up innovative, bold ideas. And we see better outcomes when we include diverse perspective. Totally agree. And I mean, it just goes back to those themes of, empowerment and collaboration that, that DEI can really bring out. Absolutely. Yeah. Michèle?
I think in any successful company today, you have to have everybody living the cultural values of the organization. If you look at hiring practices in today's world, cultural fit is as much importance as skill set when people are assessing candidates for their roles, because it can be, skills you can teach, cultural fit you cannot necessarily do. And it allows you to build strong teams because everybody's working with the same mindset of inclusivity and treating people well. And at the end of the day, it's human nature to want to feel like you matter, you're heard, you're appreciated, your contribution is important. And I think fostering that type of an environment only leads to a more successful environment because people feel motivated to do better. Yeah. So before we wrap up, one last question around mentorship. So what role has mentorship played for you in supporting your careers in produce? I've had a lot of mentors over the years, and I would not be where I am today without those mentors. Going back to when I mentioned earlier about my aspiration to become a store manager. At the time, I would get laughed at. Literally laughed at when I suggested that that's what I wanted to do. And yet I had a district manager who took me seriously and said to me, well, you want to be store manager? Let's make you a store manager. And he worked with me. And over the course of a number of years, I elevated to successively higher positions and then finally got my own store. And he had long since retired by the time that happened. But lo and behold, I got a congratulatory card in the mail from him. Still don't even know how he got my address, but he sent a card in the mail saying, congratulations, I see you finally made it. And I knew you would. And for me, that was incredible. And he was just the first of many over the years to support me and guide me and redirect me at times when, when they felt my approach wasn't, quite what it needed to be. None of us is perfect. And I think that's part of a mentoring program is to, build you up on your assets, but also make you aware of your weaknesses and how you can correct those and be a better person overall. And I would say over the years, I've had a couple of mentors who have helped me in that direction and helped me really expand my career opportunities. And I'm very, very thankful for each and every one of them.
Mm-hmm. So, Michèle, how does that reflect when you are the mentor? So when you're speaking to other young professionals, other younger women in produce, how does that reflect?
Well, I think you're able to impart some of your knowledge and some of your experiences with them because they may be experiencing some of the same obstacles, hurdles that you found yourself going through, and just giving them some ideas of approaches that you've taken to try and get over those hurdles. And as well, guiding them in, even in things like work-life balance and not letting yourself become consumed with your career and whatnot, because as much as that's important, there are a lot of other important things in your life too, and you need to try and find that balance. So there are a lot of things that, questions that I get asked, and we all did. I remember the year we did the panel before the speed mentoring. And that was one of the common questions that came up about work-life balance and families. And, Ashley talked about it herself with, supporting women as they expand their families. It's really about taking your experiences and trying to help somebody else navigate a little more easily than you did, and maybe not having some of the pitfalls that you did that you've learned from. But if you can help somebody else avoid making that mistake, I think you're doing your job as a mentor.
Mm-hmm. That's great. Yeah. Ashley?
Yeah, absolutely. I would definitely have to agree with Michèle. Like for me personally, a mentorship has had a profound impact. So early in my career, I really wish that I would have focused on finding a mentor sooner than I did. So that would definitely be my advice to newcomers, to seek out those mentorship relationships. It really did help me propel much faster in my career once I did. And it doesn't necessarily need to be a formal mentorship. It can really be informal as well. So, and it also can be a peer. It doesn't necessarily need to be a hierarchy effect. It's great to have the mentor for support, to bounce ideas off of, to learn from their experiences that they've been through, and for someone to advocate for you. So if I'm not in a room and there's opportunities that come up, is that person willing to put their hand up for me and advocate for me? Mm-hmm. So luckily for me, I've had the opportunity to have both. I've had, a very impactful male mentor over the course of my career, as well as a female mentor, and they were both equally important. So the male mentor really was the one that elevated me to where I am today. He understood some of those systemic barriers and pushed me in order to find the confidence in myself that I had lacked. And he really helped instill that confidence, which in turn, propelled me and had me apply for opportunities that I otherwise didn't think I was suited for, but ultimately was doing that already in my current role. So he helped me see things in myself that I wasn't necessarily seeing. And then later in my career, I had a female mentor, and again, she's been pivotal in my career, really opened up opportunities that, again, otherwise would not have been presented to me. It really allowed me to expand on my culture journey. It made me become a better leader, a better mentor, a better colleague overall, and really just learning from the experiences that she paved for me and for so many other women in this industry. So I'd say most important part of these mentor relationships is that you have someone to advocate for you. It opens doors to networking. They really provide you with constructive feedback. They're willing to humanize you when you've made some mistakes. And then they'll be your biggest fan when celebrating successes. So I would say mentorship is pivotal when it comes to expanding on your career.
That's great. Totally agree. Lucy?
I have found that industry organizations such as CPMA have helped to elevate and recognize women's role in the industry, and events organized by them plays a big role in connecting women in the industry by sharing knowledge and experiences. And I feel that that has become a great form of mentorship for many of us, and help each other to succeed. Like, for example, I had a chance to attend a Women's Fresh Perspective conference in San Antonio a couple of years ago with my coworkers. And not only we got to know wonderful women in produce, but also we built a stronger bond with my coworkers. We traveled together. Then this bond became a mentorship. And I can say that this is one of the most valuable things to have to thrive in the industry.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, you build that sense of community. And thank you all, Michelle, Ashley, and Lucy, for joining this panel. It's been really great. And thanks so much for the discussion.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks again to Lucy, Michelle, and Ashley for joining this episode, and congratulations again to all of the women recognized. We'll put a link to the Grocery Business Women in Produce article in the description to this episode. Until next time, fill half your plate with fruits and veggies, continue to seek out new knowledge, and basically never stop growing.